All right, I'm going to call the meeting to order. It's the Moretown Select Board meeting. It's Monday, January 5th. We're in the John Hoagland meeting room here. I'm going to go ahead and start with you, your wife. So tonight, first here at Moretown, we're having the first Have Your Say Day. And to explain that a little bit, I'm going to turn to Don to give us a little explanation. I know he and a few of the town meeting group came up with this. And so Don, if you could give us all a little bit of explanation on where who's in your group and what you did.
Well, the town meeting group was Karen Horn, Chris Butch, Steve McGill, and John Schmelzer, and myself. We started meeting, back in 2024 to recommend the changes that we did in 2025 for the town meeting before with the child care and the potluck that we accomplished last year, and with moving pre-town meetings to 2 weeks prior. So one, it didn't conflict with the school board meeting that's on the night before town meeting, and two, also to just give people a little more time to have a heads up about what was going to be a town meeting. While we were doing this, working on that, we also learned from that two of our neighbor towns, Waterbury and Duxbury, were doing this Have Your Say Day, which enabled townspeople to come before the budget is finished and going to the town report to be able to have input or ask questions about what's being budgeted and what some of the articles are and stuff like that. So this is really hopefully the beginning of something that will grow into. We got a little, had a few setbacks in getting this. Maybe we'll look to maybe next year trying to do it either on a different day or in December, or, there might be some fine tuning. But there's one other thing I wanted to mention that's I think is kind of neat, which is the first town is a couple of other town meeting group folks right there walking in the door. I think one thing that's kind of neat that I wanted to mention is the first town meeting in Moretown was on March 22nd, 1792. And then in 1832, the voters voted in an article to move the town common to the hollow. This was hollow at that point. That hollow is what became Moretown Village. And they in 1832. The town hall was built in 1835. So one thing to have some kind of perspective about is that this is part of Moretown's history. As we go forward and the town meeting maybe changes. Last year was a great success. We had over 200 people attend, from 225 or 250 in that number compared to 80 or 90 the year before. So, hopefully down the road, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, whether we continue with Have Your Say Day and continue with having a town meeting in the afternoon with the child care and the potluck, and we get more people involved in the community and coming out to be involved in not only what the Selectboard is doing, but the various committees and such. So, anyways, welcome, and here we go, making history.
That's that one thing that goals of the Have Your Say Day is that obviously the P-town meeting, we're presenting with the budget, kind of voting yes or no. This is kind of like a way of maybe, maybe get your thoughts known, so then maybe it has some effect as far as the actual budget. So the budget is presented with the town meeting, it's yes or no, whereas this is kind of a time to, maybe point out areas where this is more spend or less. Stay up there.
And to take that one step farther, maybe we could do away with Australian ballot for budget items and vote it from the floor. And that way town meeting is actually town meeting, not just romanticized election day.
So, and that's kind of what we're trying to accomplish here without doing away with the Australian ballot. And if people, there are copies of the budget here that we've just completed. It was just completed today and it has been on the website, but even that is updated. So you're welcome to take a copy, but we can go through and talk about the budget. And as Jonathan's pointed out, and Chris as well, is we can look at some of these things. There's things that you may have questions on and say, hey, we should be appropriating more for that area. I think or less. So why don't we get going on it? Just overall, if you look at the back of the end of the budget, this year's budget is actually down almost 2% from last year, 1.85%. And a lot of that, or that is from the loader was paid off last year. And so that was a $28,000 expense. Everything else is pretty well flatline budgeted across. All employees received or will be receiving a 3.5% wage increase. So that's where some of the increase is coming, and we've done a little bit of increase on the town materials. I think we raised that about $8,000. But other than that, take a look through. If there's any questions, again, this is the first time for us, first time for me to do this. So, kind of at your will or your thoughts on how best to go about this. Chris, do you have any, or Karen, anything to get the discussion started?
Date on that $830. How they're figuring?
Yeah, there's nothing in this budget, but I can ask Cheryl Lynn. We do have those numbers. Cheryl Lynn, Ray, and myself have been working on that. Overall, it's coming out pretty good. But we can get some firm numbers for you. I don't know if she has it. Cheryl Lynn? When she comes out, that's something that we can bring up to her. But yeah, we've been doing very good as far as the reimbursements. We just, I'm going to say we just got about a $2 million payment. And so we're paying down. Yeah, everything is right now. It's pretty fluid as far as our loan. We had a $3 million loan. We paid that back, but we got to extend that into next July. But again, we're almost back to, I think we're back to about $1 million. But again, things are working well with that. And as you can see, we've had some storms, and I think the mitigation is working on that. But Sherilyn has some better messages on that.
Tom, was that $2 million reimbursement for the 23 floods or 24?
Just 23. Yeah, we haven't seen anything from the 24 yet.
But from what Ray told us the other day, it's looking good that we're gonna get the reimbursement, I thought so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, it's coming. Most of it's been obligated at this point. Everything that we've done at this point, work that has been done has been obligated. So we're very confident we'll see reimbursement for that. And that's around 75%. And then we have the state, which we don't know exactly what they're going to be kicking in, but that usually comes up to about 90 to 95% that we reimbursed on the FEMA.
I kind of have a question. So that being said, we had 62,000 in FEMA consultant expenditures. Do we get that back? Is that come
That's
back
all
into the
reimbursed as
town?
well.
That's how they post it? Okay.
Yep.
At the same reimbursement level
At the
that
same
everything
level,
else.
yeah,
is.
so we
It's
gotta
not
pay
fully
some of
paid
it, but we gotta, okay.
Right.
But not to that. Thank you.
Any other?
Well, I know that, and maybe Steve, moderator, who else checks started as well. And then we've talked about when we were having our town meeting group things, we were talking about articles. And so how we could utilize maybe if we change some of the the amount on an article, and Steve, why don't you, maybe you could address what some of that conversation had.
So. One of the suggestions that we had, regarding town meeting. Was, and it's kind of related to your comment, is to raise the, total amount that you would have, the minimum for. Whether it's Australian ballot voted on the floor from, we're currently at 5,000 to 15,000, and then it will give us the ability to combine. Last year, we relative success on combined. So that, we can vote on a whole series of them at the same time. If we maybe that limit, we would be able to combine and maybe to one or two total articles on all the smaller articles. I was giving it some thought because I had a feeling Don should do this to me. As I was driving over here, it's like Don's going to say, Steve, you have to get up and talk about this. 1991, I think was the year, it might have been 92, but before I lived in town. The original special meeting where they decided to switch from town meeting voting on board to Australian ballot. They set that threshold at $5,000. 1991, $85 for my student pass at Mandarin Glen. It was an only 5-day-a-week pass. I think a lift ticket was $25. So that could be part of our thinking process of, is it time to raise that threshold? Of course, the bottle bill for 5 cents per can was set in both 72, 73. Yeah, that's it. So, yeah, so, yeah, and so it would be a possibility, it would give us an opportunity to combine more articles. It also gives us an opportunity to have more that we're discussing on the floor and having discussion on the floor and things that people are interested in where they actually are having a say and vote, will help increase participation. Any questions about that? Nothing have the answer.
Well, I'll try to, yeah, George.
So I drafted, based on what Steve's input is, I drafted an article and I think you've seen it. Have you shared that with the groups yet?
No.
No, I remember seeing that as a 3 o'clock.
Basically what it says is what Steve articulated is to make the minimum from 5,000 to 50,000. Where that would require Australian ballot. So anything over 10,000, we still require.
And we also discussed that if we weren't to raise that, then because last year, remember, we combined a bunch of some of the requests, but we didn't leave enough room for it to go up or down. Well, down we had room, but we didn't have room to, if someone wanted to go up, it would have taken us over the 5,000.
No, we've already discussed that, and we will make sure there's $1,000 or so that in that, so that right now, I think last year we just, first 5 and then at the end of 5,
Yeah.
but no, we will do that, so there's some room there. Yeah, John, if you could send it to Sasha, so then she can send it out to us so we can take a look at it.
That is, yeah, I can send that. I am curious about what the group.
Yeah, so what's everyone's thoughts on that? What John and Steve just discussed?
Well, I'm not quite sure how, what town meeting kind of evolved into was just a discussion about all the little, contributions that we make, which is, they're mostly all worthy organizations. But if we could talk about stuff like buying a piece of equipment or a truck, where we're talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, then there's something to really discuss and debate instead of to take it or leave it. I don't know. Most of this stuff is not what you guys are just in time that we need a truck.
I mean, yeah, the equipment is like, I think we're off the schedule some, or but like, that's just like pretty much on a schedule at this point. I can't remember who's doing, like to try to roll over the trucks, so they're not like breaking down, so you can still discuss it, but I think, right, you'd be like, yeah, okay, we don't wanna buy the truck, but like, well, do you want the road plowed tomorrow?
Well, it's not so much don't buy the truck, it's like which truck or have we.
Right.
I mean, not every year, and I know you're on capital budget, so it's not.
Well, any of those that are articles anyway, those are large expenditures typically, aren't they, or are they not?
Yeah, but
Yeah, they are.
but they can't be voted from floor. I mean, it's a Australian ballot.
Oh, because of the limit, but it would be
Yeah.
difficult to say we're gonna raise the limit to four
I
hundred.
just remember they used to.
Yeah.
Hold it. There was some discussion about, well, what are we gonna get for a truck and what are we gonna do? I mean, most of the time this doesn't come into play, but right now we're been fine to everything's yes or no. And that's all it is. And I think it's informative. I mean, people sit there in the room and you learn a lot if you hear a discussion. If it's just yes or yes, you know.
Right. Right, but if we raised it to 15,000, there's a fair amount of articles. I mean, we've had a few articles, like our culvert funds, some of our fund articles that we're doing at 10 to 15,000. I mean, maybe there's more discussion for those.
Or could we have some of those articles ready for like this meeting next year? We're talking about some of the major funding issues for trucks and things. Maybe that's something we could bring forward and have available.
Right, well, I think even in this year, know that based on our discussions earlier in the budgeting season, we're going to be looking at a 1-ton pickup. With the plow and the bed on the back, that's about 100,000. And then we're also looking at a loader. And that's in the $300,000. So, I mean, what's everyone's thoughts on that? And actually they had originally come with a tandem truck as well. But the bodies for the tandem trucks are 2 years out, so we can actually push that truck till next year. We could buy the trucks are now available, fairly readily available, but the bodies are still 2 years out. So we'll be looking for a new tandem next year. But this year, based on our capital budget, we were scheduled this year to do the excavator. In the truck, the 1-ton, we were not scheduled. I can't recall when that was on the budget, but based on the need, based on what Martin has told us, that we're better off spending the money on it now rather than continue to, perhaps put the money up the bat.
No,
No, it's a good discussion. People gotta ask.
I just feel though, if people are voting it from the floor, there's a reason to go and come out more informed. And the people who just vote yes on it, no offense to them, but
Yeah.
I don't think that's true, Jonathan.
well, that's
Steve, go ahead.
Last year, we didn't have any of these, but 2 years ago, we had 3 articles. Article 9, 2 years ago, was to expend some money not to exceed $10,000 for the cost of purchasing turnout gear for the fire department. Article 10 was, set aside $10,000 to repair and upkeep of bridges and culverts in the town. Article 11 was $10,000 to fund the maintenance reserve fund. All of those were voted on by Australian ballot. All of those would be voted on the floor with the change, if we were to change $15,000. So and what we're talking about doing is not actually changing it. What we're talking about is having at town meeting this year a vote to change it. So it will actually take effect until the following year.
Right.
I think that's reasonable.
But there are, in addition to all the combined articles, there are some small town articles that would end up showing up.
Yeah.
Right, we were actually gonna discuss later, starting a maintenance fund.
For our buildings.
For the buildings. Actually, Chris and I are emailed at one point where we're discussing, maybe a fund for the fields, a rec fund. Because there's expenditures coming down. So those are the type of things that maybe would fall under that as well, Steve, where we're looking to add in, 10,000 or so a year, build those funds up. That would, go under that. Those articles that would be voted on the floor.
Well, wasn't the police budget in the past voted on the floor? Or was that just a supplemental? I mean, I remember my first couple of years here, like five or 6 years ago, there was like
There was an article, we used to have, the police budget was an article. It wasn't voted on the floor, but it was by itself, Australian, and now we have it as a line item.
yeah, why did that change?
I think because we decided, it was something that is happening every year, and it was just easier to budget on a line item basis. Again, I mean, is that something that people would rather see pulled out? This is a good meeting to discuss
Well,
that.
it went way down, which I'm in support of. I think that's a great idea. But I was just curious as to, well, how, I mean, I guess it would be nice to know how that number was arrived at. You know, last year was $20,000, now it's 12,000.
Because they don't actually like, didn't mean to cut you off, Drew, like the sheriff like doesn't have any more capacity for more hours. And so I think if you look at last year's budget, like budgeted and then what was actually used, like the 12,000 was like basically what he used. Right, so they like can't fulfill the $20,000.
Oh, okay.
Right, like with the capacity they have, and so we just lowered it to, or it got lowered to match what is actually represented.
And you'll see that for the last couple of years, that was like that, we get budgeted. Because one of the things we were looking for, a lot of it is traffic control, and that's what they do. But as Mike said, they can't fulfill that contract, so we're just really
And sheriff's contract with the other valley towns.
And that's just for traffic enforcement. It doesn't include any of the other,
Primarily,
your random little embezzlement cases at the Moretown.
anything handled by the state police, no.
yeah,
I'm surprised how many former clerks at the Moretown General Store I've had, but.
No. No, they generally are just really traffic control.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's that budget.
state police is.
We haven't gotten budget.
Yeah.
It's not much, but we do get revenue from it. Civil funds, they call it.
Yeah.
Civil fine.
Mhm. It's not a lot, but it's better than nothing.
Sean?
Yes, addressing Jonathan's concerns, I thought the function of Freetown meeting was to discuss purchases, especially of equipment. But we couldn't discuss on the day, as prescription against that on the day we're gonna vote. So we discussed them at pre-town meetings. And then in changing the amount that goes by Australian ballot, the town meeting until very recent, last year, hasn't been very representative of the town. So by having items decided by Australian ballot, that low bar, 5,000 or more, gives everyone a chance to have their say in a way if they vote. So I think those are concerns I'd like to bring up.
Good, thank you. So, the FEMA question, Cheryl Lynn had some answers.
So the date, the total obligated amount that FEMA has obligated is $7,059,974. And to date, we have received $4,640,859. The total anticipated amount that we feel FEMA is going to obligate is around $1 million still. So if they obligate that $1 million, the bottom line is the town minus whatever the state's gonna give us is at $1.8 $373,000. The state is supposed to give us anywhere between 8 and 10%, maybe 11%, but they will not tell us what that's gonna be until the jobs are completed. So if you take the state out of it, we're looking at 1.37 million.
Is the state's 10% on just the remaining amount or the full, 7 million?
No, that's not, that 1.37 is the remaining balance,
It's the state,
estimated remaining
it's the
balance.
state paid.
That's without the state.
What Chris is saying, does the state pay 10% on 1.3 or on 7?
So they're gonna pay anywhere between 8 and 11% on the 1.37 million.
Right.
So it's not gonna cost us 1.37 million. But we have to plan that because we really don't know what the state's gonna give us right now.
But at best, or we would still have 1.2 million left roughly, or maybe more than that. So the number,
So they're only gonna give us 8% of the remaining balance or the
We
total fee?
We don't know. It's
Oh.
anywhere between 8 and 11% of the 1.373 million.
Oh, okay, not the total FEMA
No.
amount, oh, just.
No, because so the 2023 flood, FEMA's paying 90%. The
Right,
2024 flood, they're paying 75%. So the state then needs to figure out which percentage they're gonna give us for each flood. And we do not have those numbers
that's only percentage of the remaining
of
balance.
the remaining balance.
Okay, I
if
know.
we get stuck with 1.2 million, what do we do with that?
We will have to finance it.
Take for 10 years or?
Yeah.
It could be longer than that.
Yeah.
For sure, the 1.3 million includes the 1 million that they haven't obligated yet.
Correct.
So
So
if they obligate
potentially,
that, then our amount's gonna be probably around 400 to 400,000 around that amount maybe.
I'm sorry,
No, I was just trying to calculate in my head what then what our share would be. And is that million for the 24 flood?
it's the combined one.
It's fine.
Yeah,
Okay.
Some of it also, we still need to figure out, we still have 3 projects from 2023 that are like Lover's Lane, which is still being looked at, and we'll figure out the best solution, best engineering.
and River Road.
Yeah, and River Road, there's 3 projects from 2023 that are still in the works.
And I would like to let you all know that Ray Washburn, our consultant, our FEMA consultant, he's been doing an absolutely amazing job. And we are supposed to get the majority of his fees back from FEMA. And the current loan that we also have for the flooding, we also are going to get all that interest paid back from FEMA. So just in case anybody has questions, to let you know.
Sheila, what do we have for in-kind, as far as towards that million that we owe?
Of our in-kind in-house.
Right.
Well, he hasn't gotten to that part yet because
Oh, we just have some in-kind that's gonna go towards that.
our payroll, use of our equipment, but for the majority of it, it was all hired out.
Right.
We don't really have a whole lot of in-kind. We really don't, maybe 2 weeks if you take the full week that they worked and then all the other, because the majority of the work was hired out.
Well, that's actually really good news because every now and when you read about FEMA, you're like, oh, they're never gonna give a red cent to anybody anymore, so.
Yeah,
Yay.
they've been working with us, but Ray's been on them
Uh-huh.
and he's, yeah, there's no way I would have been able to do my normal job and do this. It's taken his help. So when you see the line item under the select board, I would highly recommend that you support that.
Yeah, and it's, it's not the best picture out there, we're gonna owe upwards of $1 million. 2 floods, over the last, well, it was 23 and 24.
Actually, that December 18th.
I think, we're, we look at it, I guess we're better off, than a lot of towns have been. But still, it's not a pretty picture and, we'll be looking at ways to figure it out. I mean, we do, you know, we're working with the bank, Northfield all the time. I mean, they've been great as far as our loans. You know, sharing their advice on how we should go about some of these things. Again, we're not experts, but we're seeking expert advice whenever we can. And we'll continue to do that. So just know that we're watching the dollars. You know, it's my dollars as well. But we're also mitigating a lot of disaster in the future. You know, we could have exited this a little quicker, probably, and a little less expense. But we've chosen to upgrade, you know, a lot of the culverts, from the sizes to going to the concrete culverts. So in the future, our family's futures, you know, we'll be better off. You know, and nothing's free. But we will do the best that we can to make it palatable and livable for all of us. You know, and that's, I mean, I think the budget, this year's budget, you know, again, it's down a couple percent because we had the budget, the excavator paid off. So everything else has been fairly level funded, and we'll try to continue to do that. We are going to add a little bit of money to the budget tonight. We do have some maintenance items for all the buildings. And one of the discussion points that we're going to have on the town meeting where they're going to different things to discuss is the building, the old library, the historical building now. You know, as a town, what are our thoughts with that? It needs a roof. So those are the type of things that, you know, we want some input because again, we have some expenses coming down the road, but you know, we have assets that we want to do with these, and how do we go forth making these decisions? Right.
Craig, are a little naive about how it worked when, like, last year's budget was 1.59 and the expenditures were 1.936. Like, where does that money come from to cover the?
So that, Cheryl, I'll answer that, but basically it's grants is what you're seeing there. There's
Expenditures,
right.
That's grant money that we're not seeing that income side in the budgets.
Yeah, and that's a frustration I think we all have, and oftentimes is brought up at town meetings. I know our road foreman Martin really gets annoyed with it because if you look at his budget, because a lot of his money for the town roads come in grants. But if you look at the end, you know, he's over at 200,000 or something, but it doesn't show the revenue on that page, and that's what you're seeing there.
Yeah, so can I?
Yeah, please.
So, any of the expenses that we have that are not FEMA related or sidewalk related, because all those funds, all those jobs have their own separate fund.
Yeah.
So you will not see any of the revenue or the expenses coming out of the general fund budget. So like we have better road grants, we have grants and aid, we have passive grants, we have numerous grants that we have, and those are all expended out of our general fund. And the revenue is also put back in there, but with municipal accounting, we cannot put the two together.
Yeah.
So that's why in the town report, you see revenues that are in and you see the comparative budget.
So inevitably, there will be some, either we were over budget or under budget, you know, ignoring your grants.
Yeah.
But, you'll be able to see how close we were to 8
That's where your surplus or your loss comes in.
Say that again.
That's where your surplus at the end of the year, or your loss comes in, and then that surplus, we are gonna have a surplus this year. I have not got the books fully closed yet, so I'm 99.9. We're definitely gonna have a surplus this year, but that also has a lot to do with, the grant money that's coming in for expenditures that happened this year, or the previous year. So that then will then get rolled over into the tax rate, assuming that the select board, that's what they've always done in the past. So that will then help our tax rate up.
Thanks for refreshing that.
Yes.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Mhm.
So any other, you want to have some more say? Have you had enough say?
I think there's questions that come up every single year.
What?
And FAQ, like the frequently asked questions,
Mm-hmm.
like the 10 questions. I mean, it's constructive to hear the answer, because I don't remember it all then. I don't know if people are getting tired of.
I think especially for that question, that right there,
Yeah.
because that is, it comes up often. You can't, it's really hard to understand too.
It is hard.
And then I know last year, last year we got it late, so we couldn't do it. But I try sometimes to try to marry it up and say, all right, if you turn to page 20, you can see where this came in. But that doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah.
But will I have the time to do it or not? That's.
Yeah.
But yeah, maybe we can come up with something that explains it a little bit more, or.
So just so you all know, because we are spending so many federal tax dollars this year, there's a cap for the next 3 years. Then you'll see it under bookkeeping. We are in a full audit no matter what for at least the next 3 years. And so that audit may not even be ready until June because it is so intense and it takes a long time. So what you see will be a draft and what I feel it should be, but they could come in at the end and say, hey, we need to go this year or that there. It's, so I just wanted to let you all know, just like it was last year, they didn't, like John was saying, they didn't have the audit finished yet, but it wasn't a full audit, so we had it by April, I think it was, but this year, the next couple of years, because of the federal funds that we are spending, it's gonna be a while.
Yeah, it shows in the audit, we're up to 29,000 in the
Yeah.
fees.
Normally, a regular would be like around $10,000-$12,000. But we are in a contract with them this year and next year with Sullivan Hours. And I have a lot of victims.
Yeah, so 11,024 a month.
Yeah. So that number will stay there. It'll go up a little bit just for the cost of inflation and stuff, but that's not gonna go away for a few years. And normally would only happen by statute once a year, but it's gonna happen every. And so we're done with you.
All right, I have Denise online here. She's raised her hand. So Denise, go ahead.
I just had a couple questions. Well, first a comment around the discussion of in-person voting versus Australian ballot and having the option for Australian ballot. Town meeting day really, because it's Vermont, hinges on the weather. So if there's a snowstorm, you're going to get less people attending in person than you would if it's a blue sky day and weather is great. So I just feel like Australian ballot option should still be an option, especially for it just allows for people of different ages, whether you're in your 80s or what you're working more than one job or have childcare issues, to be able to cast a vote and not be pigeonholed in to just being able to do it in person. So that's my comment there. So I would
Denise, let
just,
me ask a question, maybe just go to every one of the comments someone had is maybe we just have like officers voted on the floor instead of like the select board where our offices are Australian ballot. Maybe that would be something that would be good to have voted on the floor. What's your thoughts with having, some things like that, or even moving up that that amount, I think we were discussing around 15,000. So that some of the other articles, could be discussed, but still leaving the bigger budget items for the Australian ballot.
Do you mean like select board seats or?
Yeah,
what?
like all
Okay.
select board seats, library, commission,
Yeah.
town
Animal
clerk.
control, that sort of thing. Yeah, that's tough because I feel like I've just, I've done a little bit of both. I've been to town meetings and voted, but I've also mailed in my votes depending on what's going on. Honestly, I feel like, maybe that should be a vote in itself to see what the majority is thinking. And
Well, if I'm not, I don't want to cut you off on that. I know you had another question, but
yeah.
I think Dave Stapleton, who's out there with you, he wants to say something as well. Dave, did you want to comment on that?
Well, I just had a question. I think you're doing a better job with hybrid meetings than you used to, and I'm just wondering whether we could do that for town meeting to address the weather issue, especially.
Yeah, I think, well, thanks. We're doing, practice makes perfect, I guess, right?
Yeah.
And as our technology gets a little bit better, even our screen, we've moved up, although we're going to get a bigger one. Yeah, I think that it's something to be said for having the meetings like this both online and live.
The constraint would be is that in the, at the school, where one of the things that the town meeting group is dealing with and the select board is improving the sound system.
Yeah.
So with trying to also have the owl and have a remote Zoom in, that's a goal, but it's going to be difficult as well based on the acoustics.
Yeah. I think there's something to be said to get everybody that we can there in person. And, if the weather was fine, that would be great. But I also think there are just people who have a very difficult time getting out. And, that may be me someday. And so it just provides more opportunities to participate. So if we could figure that out, I think it would be helpful.
Well, we have the town meeting committee, and that's something you can add to the list.
Well, I think the state put in that the hybrid meetings are there, but there's just no voting. So if you join in via Zoom or Teams, that you just can't vote. I'm pretty sure that's the state limited that.
Doing all this, owl stuff, but to be able to vote via Zoom. Can't do it by statute or just?
Yeah.
By statute, yeah. All right, Denise, you had a second comment or question? Didn't know.
Well, just to finish up with the in-person versus Australian ballot, maybe it's an idea of just trying it out but not locking the town into doing it just one way. Maybe we have a test pilot of for the next 2 years, maybe do it in person and see what the attendance is. And then if that data shows that there's less participation in person because they don't, and there's less voting because Australian ballot is not an option, maybe then we can go back to doing some of each versus just flat out saying, nope, you've got to be in person to be able to vote. I just don't want to, again, be pigeonholed into doing things one way and making everybody do it one way, and then people don't have the option to vote. Thank you. I had a question about the town events budget line of 8,500 and what that was. What events are we talking about? Is this Moretown Fest or something else?
That would be Moretown Fest, yes, Morefest.
Okay.
Wait, no.
No, she's looking at what we spent. If you look, page 9 of the revision that you want.
No, please do. I mean,
Page 9, competitive events that Denise was talking about, the 8,500 is what we actually spent in 2,500, in 2025. So, more
that was more fast.
and that was more fest. But more fest is no longer there, it's gone into the rec committee's budget.
Right.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying that. And then, if we're gonna talk about roof, repairs and expenses, do we have that information to be able to have that discussion tonight? Like the costs?
Denise, we're not talking about that tonight. I just brought that up, something we might, bring up at town meeting. And basically, is just generically, you have a town building, it's gonna need some repair, what direction do we want to go?
Okay, because isn't it like with town meeting now, you can't really ask a lot of questions about things. Is that accurate?
Not really, but there are certain questions you can ask, and that's what some of this tonight was, is as far as you can't change the budget on town meeting.
Right.
And in previous years, you couldn't actually talk about the budget on town meeting, and that has changed. You can actually now talk about the budget on town meeting.
But you just can't change it.
You can't change it.
Like you can get clarification with things, but you just can't change the budget line or, increase.
Okay. Right. And generally at the end of the meeting, we'll have just discussion points. Whether it's this or we made a discussion with the fire department or something, and that's what I was referring to.
Okay. So at town meeting, there'll be roof estimate information available to review and then discuss, or what's the process going to be around that?
I do not anticipate having roof, that in-depth discussions for the roof repairs at that point. I think we're just going to bring up what we're going to have expenses. Is this something that the town actually wants us to look into? Are we interested in going down that route? Because we don't want to spend a lot.
I would just want to see the quotes of doing that, shingled versus metal, different companies, that sort of thing, and have the transparency there as far as what the costs are going to be and what the plan is to pay it.
I agree, absolutely.
And then my last kind of question was, is this going to be the day to say, is this going to be a regular yearly event? So we've added 3 kind of town meetings, January, February, and March, or is this experimental?
It's experimental, but again, we'll probably do a poll of people here before they leave. You certainly feel free to give your opinion before you jump off. But again, it's an opportunity. And you made the comment earlier that you really can't make any changes at town meeting, right? Because of the statutes. This gives people an opportunity to say, look, I really think you're underfunding this, or I think you're overfunding some things. And so the select board will have an opportunity. We heard a lot of feedback one way or another. I think we would, probably act on it. We do our best to present a budget that we feel is, worthy, but there's other things that we may not know about. So that's kind of the brainchild of this. For the first time, we've had, I don't know, what's there, 20 people here or so? I think pretty good attendance, between this and online. So yeah, I see it working. And
then, so with pre-town meeting, has that purpose of that meeting changed now that you've implemented the data say? Is the purpose of the pre-town meeting something different?
No, in pre-town meeting, that is something that state statute states that we have to do. And we're given, I think it's a 2-week period prior to town meeting that has to happen. And again, at that point, if we had the opportunity to maybe change our budget or tweak some things, we wouldn't have this. But we don't, so, it's kind of redundant. I understand that. It's probably, I could spend my time probably doing better things than that night too. But
The state statute on that is that we have to do it because we are voting by Australian ballot. If we weren't voting by Australian ballot for our budget articles, we would not have to have a pre-town meeting.
Thank you, Stephen. And just Steve McGill, our moderator, clarifying for us. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you. Thank you for doing that.
All right. Yes, we have one more comment here on the floor, and then we got to move on. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Say thank you for the format for town meeting, the 4 o'clock and childcare and dinner, which is really well for my family. We have 2 little kids, so just a big proponent of that. Not that anything's changing, but thank you so much for that. No way we could have gone last year without the childcare. I looked at the budget and I emailed Don to get a little follow-up. I live in Gallagher Acres, and I know that the sidewalk into going down Route 2 will be grant funded. I just wanted to keep that on the front burner. We're pretty isolated in that neighborhood between us and Fairground. It's not safe in the winter, and I'm usually pushing a stroller, so it's really not safe. We can't walk in the snow. So when that becomes available, it'll be wonderful.
Sure, you can probably give us a little.
So I applied for the overage on the west side sidewalk that the construction is gonna be happening this year. In the village. In the village, right, so, we ended up getting that grant, which was huge, it was like $315,000.
I know that was the prayer.
That was the prayer, and it was the exact same grant, but there were 2 separate grants, and I knew I had a really good feeling we were gonna get this year, but Moretown, of course, I'm gonna have. So
We also were doing the scoping study. We hadn't really gotten that sidewalk. The scoping study completed when Ted Duzick. We were
No, it
working on.
looked better. It looked better, because I had to send it in with it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I will tell you, I'm going to be working as hard as possible to get that sidewalk done. I know most everybody in town wants it done, especially everyone over there, and we have a lot of support from a lot of different other, businesses there, so.
Oh, yeah.
I will push it as hard as I can.
Great. It'll be very well used. I know that.
I mean, and again, you think, oh, we got a grant, but a grant process is, it can run from like 3 to 5 years, even before construction starts.
Mhm.
Do I think that we may get approved for it next year? I don't know, because they've been pretty good to us throughout this whole sidewalk, both sides of these sidewalks. I'm hopeful, but the following year, I think we'll have a much better shot.
Okay, great. I just wanted to keep it on the radar as it's already on your radar.
Yeah.
And then secondary, I'm on the board of the children's room, and I was looking at the budget on the last page. And I didn't see the $1,000 budget for 26 for the children's room that we have been doing. And then emailed, and we didn't get it for 25 because we didn't submit the so we just think it might be an issue for other nonprofits. If this is an issue for us, knowing how and when to turn in the paperwork. The $1,000 is a big deal for our yearly budget. They just wanted to make sure to put it back in for 26.
Can I jump in here? So on page 9, where you're talking.
Yeah.
That's on other articles. If you notice, there's not any of them in there because those are voted on the floor.
Okay.
So once those are voted on and approved at town meeting, then they automatically will be paid. And we get the invoice by December 1st, certificate of insurance, because once as I explained to you today.
I haven't caught up on an email that came straight.
It's okay,
Yeah.
we can't pay something that wasn't submitted in that calendar year.
I totally get we missed the.
Yeah, but all of these other articles, as long as the select board made the change, I don't know, 5, 6 years ago, as long as your request has not changed, then it'll automatically roll over every year.
Perfect.
So unless you want to change it, if you change it, then you gotta do an article. I mean, excuse me, a petition.
We just did that last year. We don't want to do that.
You don't want to do it again.
Okay.
No. Yeah, so you don't ever have to worry about that. It'll always be on the floor.
And I think, Carolyn, the onus is on the nonprofits to reach back out to say, did we get approved and how do we get our money?
Yeah.
Because we know, or I don't think you guys take the time to send letters out and say, hey, you've been approved and you know, this is how you go about it. So I'm sorry you guys didn't get the paperwork in last year, but yeah, just make sure that you check where the other nonprofit. Yeah.
It's that now.
I think Heather did.
You can always send it now and it goes in the folder and then once, town meeting's all approved within a certain number of days after town meeting, then it could always then be paid. But
So if it's submitted now, it would be good even.
it'll be sitting in a folder in that month to pay that bill.
Okay, thank you.
As long as we have a W-9 certificate of insurance under it. Current. Yeah, current 2026.
Okay.
Mike, did you have a question or a comment?
No, I just wanted to say that I really appreciate that you guys have opened up this meeting as we are doing this right now to talk about budgets before the numbers get set. I think it's a great idea. I hope we continue to do it in the future. And also that, to change the way that the town meeting day operates so that folks like yourselves are able to come to town meeting. I think it was great that we did both of those things tonight. Make most of it.
So I think it was really the committee, again, Karen, Steve, John, Don, Chris. They were instrumental. They brought that to us and we'll continue. I think we've got some new tweaks. Better.
Do you anticipate the budget changing again before the pre-town meeting? Because last I knew, we couldn't make any changes at the pre-town meeting. Is that still correct?
Answer to both questions is yes. So I do see it changing a little bit, not an awful lot. We have some maintenance items to put in tonight. And no, or yes, it cannot be changed at pre-town meeting.
Okay.
Right.
So, but we won't see those changes until pre-town meeting, correct?
That is correct. Yeah, once you get your new town report in the mail, but it's not going to be a lot. And again, it will be primarily their maintenance items. We have some stuff at all buildings that we need to take a look at.
Okay.
Thank you. Entertain any other questions or comments on the have your say.
So go ahead.
I just want, when does this go to the printer and it's born over?
On 17th.
17th.
Yes, on the 17th. We are actually, as a board, going to get together next Monday. I'm believing we'll get Tim Tom just to finalize the articles, because we're not going to be able to finalize all tonight, and I don't have the numbers for everything. So we'll have to have a short meeting next Monday to finalize.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's right.
Can I just say one more thing? I'm not saying I'm against Australian ballot, and I'm not saying I'm for Australian ballot, but I would like to remind everybody that's thinking about Australian ballot that we have roughly, last year was 100 people that attended town meeting, right?
No.
We have 200. But we have 1,500 voters on our checklist right now, and our checklist is very, very clean. And if you have 200 people show up at town meeting to vote on Australian ballot, you're only allowing 200 people to vote. Or you have Australian ballot, you allow 1,500 people to vote. I'm not swaying it either way, I just want to remind you all of that.
How many ballots do you typically get at?
It depends on the year. We've been pushing anywhere between 650 and 750.
So it's like 3 or 4 times it's. Right.
Between, the show up has been great in person since COVID is back on. But that's between absentee ballots and people showing up in person.
So that's to Denise's point then, I guess.
Yeah. Yes, 650, 750 is our average town meeting without a presidential. Or
That's combined.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so a third of the people are coming.
Yes. So when we have, no, there's more.
It's not 600 people at the meeting, it's 600.
250 at the meeting, 650 total.
It's just last year though.
Yeah, but that was just last year.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, that was just last year because they changed it and allowed, like the voting and the stuff.
Yeah, I'm with children.
Yeah.
So get your numbers right.
Yeah, I need you to be counting, like,
All right, Nick, so.
Steve,
Did I hear you suggest that we might vote to change officers to be voted on the floor? I like get people to show up if they don't want to be nominated.
that's an idea.
Count all those writers.
The ones that do, we're gonna bring an army of people to get them elected, so if you wanna get people to town meeting, that's probably the way to do it.
Well, so that's it.
Seriousness.
I don't think we have to worry about armies.
Yeah.
Higher number of voters with Australian ballot, you have a more informed voting when you vote on the floor. And you would probably have higher participation, or higher attendance at town meeting if the voting were done on the floor, but it would never be as high as what you're getting with the Australian ballot. So it's a question of which way you want to go with it. And they're both valid.
Yeah, and also with the Australian ballot, also, which is, this is, only from the Secretary of State, it allows disabled people who can't make it. It allows college students that can't make it, it allows military workers. This, this is things that we own.
I think,
I'm not saying.
Also making sure that. Well, I know that we talked about. What I had one vote on or talk about at town meeting is fireworks. A lot of people really like them and think they're wonderful. Some people don't like them and don't think they're wonderful for reasons. And we do spend around, I don't know, $8,000 for fireworks. So I think that would be something that could be discussed at town meeting. I don't know if it would be an article or just an open floor, something that people should vote on, There's two sides to it, And whether we carry on with fireworks. I'd be interested to hear what people's opinions are about that.
You mean the Moretown?
Yeah.
Another one we can talk about, there is a local option tax, because actually where the package lands is who gets the 1% local option tax. So if you're ordering from FedEx and it's delivered in Moretown, the local option tax revenue goes to Moretown.
With that, it also depends on the last 4 of your zip code.
Oh, right.
Well, it's supposed to be by town.
Yeah, but I'm all 5602, which is
I am as
Montpelier,
well.
so then all my stuff would go to Montpelier.
Well, we don't have to get into that.
No, it's a very good point. I wasn't aware of that, but it's also, or we're talking about revenue.
Or the Airbnb might be a
Yeah.
question, taxation on that.
I don't know if it's finance review,
Or
because we
just-
bring that to 1.2.
And Airbnb will build that in and collect the money and send it to the town.
Yes.
Yes.
They do.
Yeah, Warren do the registry.
Fantastic, all right.
And so there's, and I think you did use the word controversy, Don, that you, in your little group, right?
What?
I think you did use the word controversy, you said bring people in, right?
Well, yeah, it's not a controversy, it's just something that people have strong feelings about, which, fireworks could be one of them.
Dog food bags that they
Dog food
have
bags.
utilities, very
So
controversial.
John, why don't you wrap us up with the,
It's not in public. And discuss it and vote the jury next to them, because it's already in the law.
might be a good discussion though, that, again, we want to do it, next year. Within the,
Spending the money about it, it's in a warrant article, which is
The
the.
article doesn't say fireworks.
It's what?
It does not say fireworks.
For events,
That's county then.
events.
Oh, well, I can't, next year, can you print this a little smaller? What's your word for it?
What about $8,000 for fireworks?
Yeah,
Would you pay that?
yeah,
That's what we spent.
yeah.
This year.
Yeah.
They go off every year.
I love it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so we are gonna move forward on our agenda. We got a bunch of, we got Misha Goffman from the Mad River Path up next. He's gonna discuss, so happy to entertain you all and listen to this presentation.
Yeah, those are a good thing to hear about.
But thank you, everyone, for taking the time to come tonight. And let us know what you think.
It's like you can't leave when you signed in. There was sign print at the bottom. And then, so. No, I remember.
Yeah. Thank you. Everything.
It's getting organized.
I think a lot of money. I'm very low on that.
Like that.
No, I think it's usually between like 250 and 290.
No, it's higher, stall, straight.
200,000.
Really get a year.
We have a lot of businesses. I mean, we've got the mall itself, we've got everything on 302, the hotel, Shaw's. But you think about it, so everyone that goes to Hannah's or the Moretown stores, who doesn't live there, pays them.
Yeah.
So when you go shopping at Shaw's, you're giving the town of Berlin that, you know. So that's why I'm saying, like, when I. That's what I said. So like, if I'm ordering stuff, I have to put in those last 4 digits because otherwise I pay my food. That 1%. We had that in Barry. Barry put it in before Berlin, and because we don't have a post office, we run through different zip codes. One of it's Barry. People were getting charged that because they weren't paying their stuff.
That's not down. It makes sense that last quarter.
But make sure they like, you know.
For user fees,
But there's still are.
I mean, even if you brought in an extra $50,000.
Well, it's not closed on their back.
Some are.
Oh, sure, how you for trying.
The whole point, yes.
Well, that's okay, there must be tired, there's all that families, children at home and there.
No one ever stays just to listen to us.
But I'm wondering, guys, somehow turn around, because this is really where you're gonna see the presentation. If we were saying how.
You're trying to make them actively transport already.
Well, I just didn't remember that Moretown doesn't have, you, all the rest of the towns, they all have, you know, big screens. And they used to be looking at them, they said, you guys are face, oh, great.
We're getting a bigger screen. Coming to us. At least you can reach, we got a bigger screen, you can see it.
Okay,
We're gonna budget in for
so,
TV.
thank you for having me, and it's great to share this last portion of your meeting.
Meeting's back in progress.
Hey, Chris, could you have? That's fair. Hey, Darrell, one thing before you leave, you do something about the roads, 100B? All right.
So Moretown, I helped on the scoping study, and I have a report for you, that's yours, Keith, and that's of course stick and beat it like that, but anybody is really gonna get into this, now just do a upper level overview, we'll talk about what we've done and where we're going from here. Let's see, am I pressing the wrong button? Okay. Before you, it's been a long process for Mid-Road Path organization, over 30 years, and imagining path was really wasn't thought so much about going all the way through the valley, but when I came on board, thought of it to go all the way to Moretown, and we went through the scoping study, learned that we actually should be going all the way to Middlesex.
your support. Started this process in 24. Fun process, identified that this is something that's needed here to increase alternative to vehicle transportation. Connect fragmented recreation sites and statewide corridors. We have 2 statewide corridors. Most of us, and we have a little trail, statewide bike corridor need to make its way, actually make its way. Move. I see. Question, do you want Ellie? Question. Identified sections. Divided up. First segment would be from Warren Village to Montfield and Pittsfield. From Montfield to Waitsfield Village again. And Waitsfield Village to Moretown. Assets, segment, but those assets are not along the road. We have the Spalding Greenway and the West. Which way, how can we utilize those resources? And I'm doing very upper level over the time. Is there a way of connecting those two? We have an unbroken path. Is there a way to utilize the North Road, 20 Farm Road as an intra way while we figure all of this out? So these are all questions. And as we've gotten to Moretown Village to Middlesex, the study said we ran out of time. We don't have time to really be looking into this. However, an alternative was identified. It was not officially put on paper, but a really great idea came about it. And that idea is to take 100 feet from Stevens Lane to Middlesex. The road is so wide already. Shift the lanes to one side. Eliminate shoulder on one side. Then you have enough room for a 6-foot wide separation. Break the pavement, make it into a green space or curb space so the cars can go over it, and then all of a sudden it's a group, 10-foot wide path with an existing pavement. It turns out, really, if you look at that section, it's the easiest place to build the path. Yeah. However, the V-Trans study prescribed by V-Trans stopped in Moretown Village. And we were told we need to apply for more funds and do another study from Moretown Village to Middlesex. So the Agency of Transportation study that we've done so far, and Waitsfield and Warren endorsed the implementation. Warren has committed $400,000 for implementation of the first mile within Warren. Waitsfield committed $60,000 plus. They're going to bring it to the voters for more for the first section in Waitsfield. And then subsequently, we ran out of most of the federal dollars that were going to be allocated towards bike and pedestrian. Right along the way, an alternative transportation. So we're not going to stop or slow down, but we have to be thinking differently about what we're going to get done. Building 1 mile Okay, we're good. So in 26, we are going to build the first section of the path. We have Pennsbury Greenway section. That is the section I was showing you right here. Look at the blue. Go ahead, finish. Stand. Right on. Here. We have to set up the education projects that we can go on 100 in Warren. Set up demonstration costs. And not because they said like that. When you apply something disappointed, but now start. Okay, let's find other. So current, what are current opportunities in Moretown? We have currently 3 opportunities. One of them is at Pony Farm Road to Moretown Village Connector. One is the Farm Connector, cross trail to Middlesex Field. Those 3 the big tree of Farm Connector. Tree, what is here? There is an old farmer watching. That's direct to the top trail. This is a lot less expensive. Study recommend. Shape.
Sorry, like, this type of trail, would it just be like graded or gravel added to it? So it's like more firm, or, you know what I mean? Like straight or like, yeah, I'm just curious.
This, everything that we're going to build will eventually widen up in direction. That's, of course, very is going to surface the grade passable by a path like this, probably passable by any extent. Is passable by what's called path extended, something developed by an adaptive group that allows a surface.
That's also
more usable, from valley-wide as far as getting to school. Shit, really happens, and it's on the 100 cars, so that's never gonna happen. Or somewhere.
Disclosure, Nisha and matter of fact, approach Living Tree, say, what do you think of coming through this way? I didn't ask. You're suggesting we don't have an opinion what the best way to go. I just wanted to state that. Like you said, it can, we said, it suits their goals, sure. You make a good point. Yeah. The hope is to go. Yeah.
Required all purchase. Oh, yeah. Operate. Which is that rather so this could be very safe.
Why would we need to purchase the property? Everybody wants to do this plan. The third option could be to work with Craig Eilers, but that's obnoxiously too much. All right, we put it out right to the school, which is cool, but the point is, if we want to get pedestrian traffic off of that pretty nasty part.
Playing golf with a guy named Mark Kingsbury in his I wouldn't mind this. It's worth it. Help the communication. It's a opportunity.
All of its properties are.
Yes. Absolutely. I mean, I know someone trying to purchase this property. So. My understanding is correct. Yeah, first we're well, we've had.
This is where we need. You know, people like that's what we need. What we always was desirable for you to have this. We could propose this to you, say, this seems like this could work. Would you like to see this happen? How could you help us make it happen? These are like low hanging fruit. These are not millions of dollars.
Right. And we can make it. I don't want you to. Even just for watch. Water. Water.
No, hardwood.
Well, the one that proposed.
How would be connected to the trail? Yeah, just looking at those, but what I know, and then sharp curves. All right. More kind of something better than nothing. Okay, the last change here is where across Vermont Trail comes on to 100B. From there to Middlesex. This would be a very attractive section of route because it's not only would be for our corridor, but across Vermont Trail, but any applications we would make, we would be making together with another statewide organization. They're very interested, and so is Middlesex. So what this requires, an actionable item. First, we have to get another scoping study through the V-Trans. So this is, we would need to submit an application on behalf of Moretown and Middlesex together. This would require 24 of that. That's what I'm asking you right now. Scoping study. It's about 7. So in the middle section, currently sidewalk. That's a little bit longer and clear. I know that you're involved today, and the question about working on application. Hold on. No.
So this is, where the you will be applying. Right.
Challenge. Moretown. Yes. Say, pursue this. Engineers, they would give us budget. Study this.
And I think it's something that we overall discuss. Different opportunities and how we can address each one. At least, yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, that's, I didn't hear it. That's. Yeah. They were coming, they had to do with, yeah, that's it. Just a great center here. Yeah. The idea of. Hey guys. You doing, Chris? Good. 2, 1. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, pretty much it. Thank you. Hey, more questions? Pleasure. Thanks, guys.
There you go.
Thanks, Chris. See you. No. Thank you, guys. Have a good night. Yeah, good night. Good night. You ready, folks? How's everyone doing? Is everyone still awake? Yeah, I've had so many cookies there. Yeah, those cookies are good. I should not bring home. Fast. Nice. I was like, it'll be fast. Meeting. Probably no one's gonna show up to have your say day. And don't worry about it, honey. I'll be home to meet the kids. All this. 20 people, probably. So I think that went really well. Meet day or have your say. Yeah, so it's good. It's fun. It's hard to. Yeah. Right, so it's like, I didn't find a good time to say that. It's, watch your show. Or better, join the broadcast. Yeah, she kind of got lost. That shit mattered. She's like, oh,
This is something we need to think about going forward.
Like, when are those numbers gonna be ready? I know.
I'm trying to give you an accident, but I feel like I don't even know.
I'm looking for help.
You did good, you just gotta shut her, you gotta just shut her off, like, okay.
You want everyone to have their opportunity to talk.
Right, yeah.
I just.
You gotta go off on a tangent.
Oh, no, I think. It's good to see. So we have a couple things. So here's the five, just. We don't, we enter. Yeah, to talk about. Just trying to get an idea. Loader, truck, other articles that are. It's not that. That's. Right, the hyperscapers. I know that's what I'm trying to see. It's not right.
You want a blower too.
And a blower.
Sometimes.
There's one.
That's horrible, folks. Like 4 feet, just cut it off.
You put a big rock there and just write that as washable.
Well, actually, my neighbor put a rock on my side to do that. And I said, that's fine, but I'm not gonna pay for it at all. So they put a rock there. And then him and my other neighbor paid to put a rock there, but nothing's happened. No, and it only will work in one direction.
So Don, why don't we, now, let's, if anyone else has an article they want to talk about. Make sure that I have that, so they'll have information for you guys to look at in this week. That Monday, we can have a fairly quick meeting. All right, we're gonna do this right now. We have, stuff that we need to get. Callie also wanted to discuss our tonight. Yeah, I was gonna bring up this. Right. I think she has a different discussion. But we do, yeah, that's what I'll be. Make sure that we have that. And then I think, unless Sasha has anything else, that should be for tonight. We should be able to cover that in the next half an hour. So. Yeah, let's see.
The only thing I have. Mark Amadon, that's actually.
Do we have?
Sullivan and Park. Ray had 2 bids.
All right. Here from Dawn and here from Callie. That's sign. Gary. Oh. That's. Yeah. Wait. Yeah. Put it off. Place here.
that's the town office. The fire department, we way at site. Buildings that needs to still build repairs or rating is rusted. And then the exterior lights go with the garage, both are gone. So probably just full estimate, but probably look somewhere $15,000 fire station to do repair works on that building. The history center, as Tom said, a large discussion about what we want to do with that building. It is, I don't know if anybody's here had a chance to visit it yet. Quite, they've done a great job of doing something there. But that needs roof, needs place. One of the rafters had well, then it needs to be painted straight. Whether you do lead abatement or just paint over it, it's going to be in the $10,000 range. But other than that, those two things, certainly some money. The building is in really great shape. Worked on, I don't know when it was worked on, but the foundation, the basement is dry. It was, I don't know when that work was done on that building. I wish my basement looked as good as that. Good bones. Yeah, it's good bones. The town hall, I mean, we know that'll be for another discussion. Hopefully, actually finally regrouping tomorrow and having a town hall committee meeting. I've reached out to a bunch of people, got some more interest, so that's coming together about how we're going to present that and work with the town, see how we can move that project forward. We should still in the budget, which I think we have some monies, but there's always general maintenance. One of the things is whether we do the town hall project or not, the front door needs some work. And whether we like just get some, you know, it's 200 years old. So, what?
Did Alex give you a dollar amount?
Well, no, we fixed it, and I fixed actually me. And he is going to come on a warm day. Bottom settings. Was the whole project that we said here, when that gets done, separate all that, should probably consider, get some prices that have been 2 games. For some, you know, you have to replace the door as a historic door as it is, so I'll get some prices for that. We'll just keep limping along, but that's something whether we do the project or not. And now, last but not least, is the town garage. So, we did the boiler, so we did that last year. Working, Marshman, the crew, they're working on, cleared some trees in the back to get the drainage to be better. There's a drainage issue when coming through the foundation in the back, some water. So I guess now in the spring, there's some site work that grading and site work that needs to be in. Water is the way it's flashing and grading and all that, the whole sill all the way and most around the building is all rotted and needs would suggest that once we finish the grade thing, and get to the stage of put like a metal flashing up 18 inches and then start to plant woods. But suffice to say, the biggest thing we need to do right now, we got some suggestions or some recommendations from the boys at King. They did a little quick engineering study for us. Is we need to do dehumidification. So one of the things they recommended, I have gotten some prices for some really, really huge fix for that. There's also one just buying this dehumidifier. It's about 57, call it $6,000, 30-foot length of poles, and it's sized appropriately to start dealing with in that building. And once we do that, then we can start to deal with the building repairs, because there's eaves that are rotted, and there's work that needs to be done, in terms of, carpentry, siding, trim, stuff like that. So
we're gonna try parachute hole, like just dehumidify.
I think the dehumidifier would be a way to go at this point. This could be the solution. The other $60,000 range. So I think if we try this. I mean, this is at least better than coming in. I don't think $60,000 price that I got. Yeah, right. And then if we can find a way to capture some money in, if we don't paint the building this year, but we try to do some of the carpentry repair. So, I've got a rough estimate for that, for the carpentry repairs.
So what do you guys think of this? What if, just 26,000? Come back, I'll spend it. I'm gonna let's get the sidewalk done. How much do you want to park? Just not that. Much money if we. Yeah. That's not half-ass. But then. Progress.
Yeah, I think we made some progress this year.
You have, I think you have. And is everyone, what do you think of that? And that gives us a grand level budget. Is that the location? Yeah. And, we're putting prospect on fire. It's,
Are you gonna do that as fund, Tom?
no, I think let's put that right
In the budget into the maintenance.
That's
line.
why it puts it, all right, 25. Yeah.
Just a,
It's building line item.
Yeah, so again.
Well, I have one question. So I know that last year, say $5,000. Fire. Yeah, let's say I said, we need 5,000 fire.
We've gone back. At the end of the year,
Be allocated or something like that.
I'm gone, right? Well, it's only like next year, yeah, talk about the oh, fire station. Right, right. That would be allocated to something. Okay. Even out of, you know, paying attention to all this. So you'll do that, you'll put out a bill, so Bill will succinctly say, all right, yeah. Okay. We'll see how, so send that out to science. Wait, no. Yeah, I mean, I will be in there. Okay. And what we would say with our articles, so one, you know, like, what bond is allocated, maybe we know it's 26 months, right? As well. Is that all? So that leaves you one to check.
Right. So right now, the fire department is technically it's. So the question is, well, we fund it in the budget. We pay the insurance for everything and all the loans for the fire trucks. We don't really have say over what's happening in the building. So. No. So, if we want that to change, take over.
So right now, it's incorporated.
Out of a 1C3. And they're in bad standing. That's what goes, yeah.
So how do, I don't mean to jump ahead. How do,
So they are separate entities. So from basically what the league said, if it's funded in the budget, we can decide to disperse it a certain way, but a lot of towns have an allocation, which is, it's an allocation, so it's the same article, it's like us giving money to, you know, Vermont, community harvest, all of that, where we decide that we give them a certain amount of money every year. And they basically show they would have to manage it, or have a solid active roster list, and I don't think that's all. I just think there are, so the fire department has what's called lifetime members, and they can come and go. So if they want to show up to a fire call, to a training, annual meeting, they can. So they should be encompassed if we're insuring them. They should be. And there's a decent amount. But there's also money in and out. They can put, you know, I mean, the stipend that we take and taking that over, we can decide, you know, how we want to fund that. I know, in Berlin, we just took over the fire department. That was a lot more of a process than I think this would be, because they basically owned all of their stuff and they're still a work in progress. But how the fire department gets paid, we run them through our payroll. So all of their taxes come out, they get a check from us when they run payroll. They fall under the personnel policy, all of those pieces.
Volunteer.
Yeah, that's volunteers in Berlin. They're paid for the stipend. Yeah, it just looks different. It just looks a little differently how they pay them, but we process them in their payroll. So all of their taxes are out. They all get W-2s from us. So it's all covered. We get all the invoices. She approves all the invoices. I think it just depends on how we want it to look. They don't qualify. None of them qualify. Just because.
We haven't, step on.
I'm missing big pieces here to like make any kind of input.
So, I mean, if you think about it.
Like I have like no information.
So if you think about it, like a year ago, one of the firefighters went to a fire call, was intoxicated. So we're funding these kind of things that we don't particularly have control over.
Why couldn't we say, but so you're saying like, so that volunteer did that, you're saying we, at zero. And I mean, I feel like, it's that kind of trying, but what you're saying, like, Stefan is unwilling to reprimand that volunteer or not want that volunteer?
It's that we are funding this in a way that they are their own separate entity. That's the way I feel. I've heard comments that this new tanker is not going to be taken out to help the road crew, like spray out bridges, because that's what you do. Moretown residents would really benefit from that, right? He's not going to do that. Why? Town residents have paid for that. It's just the whole attitude. It needs to be overseen. Yeah, I think there's a lot moving in the fire department that I think we need to have a little bit more.
Yeah, I you know, had talked about how things go. So, you know, you're hearing things and stuff. And so I think.
Yeah, and if his truck's out in front, why isn't it clean? He's there. I see the electric bill. If he's down there cleaning, wonderful, but I don't think he is.
Right, but I think those are things I should.
You can't just drop it on.
You know, it would benefit.
If you guys are saying it, other people are thinking.
Yes.
That's kind of the point. I'm just curious how, like, other towns,
towns aren't right now, that's the vibe that I have with the listserv. I said a lot of towns, but when someone asked about it, there are a lot of towns that are interested in it, so I think it's a mixed bag of who is.
I know a lot of people brought it up last year, especially with that. Anyway, well, where no money go, if there's no accountability, no auditing, no bookkeeping on their side to account.
Oh, they got like a. They got a loss.
Yes. We used to have somebody audit them, but that was 5 years ago and no one's done it since, kind of thing.
Right.
Got
I mean,
behind
like,
there.
I think this like, and I'm just trying to compare, so this came up like the library, I feel like non-taxpayer funds that go to the fire department and the library, I feel like we can't try to stick our fingers in.
No, but when
Well,
he says that he's gonna.
Well, yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, no, right, and that's something, like, losses gives the fire department to pay for it. It's none of our business. No, right, losses is doing that. Right. Yeah.
And yet we never got it.
One part-time town administrator, it's gonna be doing the buildings, fire department, stuff like that, I mean.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Is that what it sounds? Town administrator, Batesville. So it's kind of interesting, like, to see what, the role he plays, when he does town. I don't get it, I don't know about it. I just wonder if that's.
Why do you think this thing, county has good experience? But what we see, 100%, because this board does not have the capacity to run. This is a big business, almost up to $1 million, with our budgets between that, the grants, just our regular budgets. We all do the best, but there's only so much time in the day. And I think we're lucky that people in these departments, but there needs to be more. Again, it's not because people actually believe
not coming to an ask. Right. We're talking about maybe $25,000 they're putting into programs, books or something. You know, you're talking $500,000 for a piece of hardware that sits in the garage 90% of the time. You know, I think is owed some accountability on the rest of the budgeting process that goes along with that. You know what I mean?
I think we all agree with that.
Without the $500,000 fire truck, we don't need people, right? You know, they're not going to go out there and just need the fire department. I mean, I don't want it to be a situation where like they don't get quits. But then again, you know, it makes the whole town look bad. I mean, ultimately, we do oversee that. Somebody starts selling something funny, then what we do, you know,
We give them.
money, but then it links us with that. If something gets spent incorrectly, you know, they're not going to be complaining to them. They're going to be complaining to us. Right.
I mean, well, we're already paying their invoices, they come in.
Yeah.
We could just defund them for a year and see how they work. What problem solvers do.
I mean, with taking them over, this would benefit them as well. Because, I mean, especially when you look at it in the perspective of grants, because they're coming under, they would be under our tax ID, our grant piece. You know, it's gonna benefit them as well.
This has been, you know, like, good discussion. I think the next step is we need to, bring step on it.
Yeah.
And, you know, we'll figure out how to make what that agenda looks like with that meeting. I think we should work on that. Figure out, you know, and then, you know, build a, open up our eyes.
I mean, a lot of the stuff, if it's already in the town's name itself, I mean, there's not a lot. And, you know, in Berlin, when we took it over, I mean, all of their stuff, their building, everything was their own with their corporation.
Well, I think that would be a good opportunity to give Stefan enough time to say, okay, you know, we've asked for this before, some kind of books. I know you don't have time for it, but bring in whatever you have.
Bring in the shoebox.
Bring in whatever you have, if it comes in for a shoebox.
They have a treasurer.
Yeah, but, yeah.
They do.
So bring in whatever you have and let us take a look at it, and that's.
Well, this Tom's point about meeting.
Definitely a
It's
meeting.
a great idea. Well, we have a meeting. Just present it, don't talk to them in a positive way, that we're trying to like do this to try to get the whole thing functioning better for town and for you.
More transparent, better, you know.
Keep getting feedback.
For residents, we want to know what's going on. We can get a handle.
Yeah, no, I think it needs to be, I mean, it's, you know, he does a good job, you know. They have a good fire department, but I think that was, some of the stuff is new for me to hear. Like, obviously, hear people, so let's try to figure out what we're all hearing. This is good, but let's figure out how to move forward. We haven't had any, to someone's point, use options. Yeah, that has been a sticking point. Because they brought in grants and. Right, but it was, so
I mean, if there are a number, not necessarily. All more understanding. There's more of that behind it. That's either. Getting those right. Less on the taxpayer.
You know, that last truck. So, I asked that. Show me. Why I object. And I could never. So I'm not sure whatever. Questions. Bring a lot of transparency.
We can work. I mean, in Berlin, we basically went in to say, we're gonna appoint the chief. And that's where it is. I mean, so we can, as a town, as a board, decide what. You know, and see changed. The same because, but we can decide where.
Questions. Right. Anything else? Let's
Raise to big bids.
All right, please, pass by the email, hearing, and the Avery excavation culvert, 17.215 project. He supports the recommendation that be read. So, excavation culvert 17.21 project. What's the amount? 208,980 cents. Say that. Pass. Consulting it. That, we already
Paid for that.
Oh, I thought we had two.
no, there is another.
Different bids.
Oh, okay.
But just the range on that, just that last project was from the 280 to 339,925. Yeah. Is there a second on that? Thank you, Sasha. Second on that.
Yeah.
Second, sorry. Thank you, Mike. All in favor, aye? Aye. Sasha, there are two here. Let me see.
Yeah, I had them. They look the same, but they're different.
And where is that one actually?
No, it's in town. Sorry. Probably your way.
I think on most of our side then.
Take the canoe for it.
You know, the law is not, yeah. We're only seeing, I mean, there are two different papers, but I mean, the same 209,000 or 208,000. So.
What had more bitter?
What we just talked about, that's. Social schools,
Are they exactly?
the exact same thing, so you.
Oh, okay, I will have the other one for you at the next meeting.
All right, yeah. Yeah, I couldn't find anything different on either. All right, so all in favor, we did vote on that. We did vote on it, all right, and we got
And then
that approved.
Good, Sullivan and Powers audit contract.
Very soon to sign up.
For. That's it.
Very good. Robert, I'll start with you. Is there anything that you, had to share tonight or? Old, new, indifferent? Ellie, anything?
We did, probably see the email about the post office with postmarks.
Yeah, that race.
I don't think with the postmarks, we really have to do anything different besides just putting it out there to people to let them know. Because, I mean, it doesn't change our deadline. Deadline's pretty set out, but just to let people know, I know a lot of people probably in the past 6 months to a year and been bringing in their payments or. And I mean, I've had people call me at 3:30 on tax day and say, I'm gonna mail it to you, what do I do? And I said, take it to the post office, watch them stamp it.
Sometimes, yeah.
And I would, I've told them physically watch them stamp it because we actually had someone who told them to hand stamp it with a date and they never did. Here's a postmark 2 days later. So.
Simplify things.
And just having a sort of time. We've got stuff, we have gotten stuff, tax payments that were postmarked at the beginning of November, we received in the meeting. So. No, it's an actual, like, it got stuck, I don't know where it went.
Yeah. We're both busy, normally just, like, always mail it. It's gone.
But I think it's just making people aware, I mean, they know the tax deadline well ahead of time.
That's, we can even post it.
We just did Facebook posting. Hey, heads up, it's changing, make sure, mail your payments out earlier. Because I think a lot of people think.
know the mailman got it, because literally says, mailman got it on his day, and. You're not gonna do it. Yeah, I know, and I'm like, maybe a week later, we'll have to stop. Two things, twice a week, and then, unless you get a pack of them. Remember Don was saying, don't order shit. Now I just order shit all the time, so I get mail.
I literally get
We're gonna package every day, you know, something light. And, everything.
Just forwarded us from Ray. So
Yeah, I mean, everybody, everything. I didn't actually see the email. What is he?
he just said it's 370.
65.
Well, no, his current rate is 7.
Yeah.
But he said my liability insurance is 5%. Tracks.
What's that?
What's that? Remember someone said it wasn't a budget line item. Say like 6-digit number easily. So I think like the value. Yeah, it's funny. Oh yeah. Yeah. Just ask anything else, Mike? I don't think so.
Yeah, and I don't mean, we can say FEMA reimbursing it. Realistically, 60,000. Brought that up there, saying it technically we're gonna get it back, but if we're gonna be dollars short.
Yeah, depending on where
We're really not getting it back.
Where you want to put that, what,
Yeah, you know, you got 8 million in assets, and you know, they're gonna be short 1 million, not 90%, now you're at 75%. Right.
or you can put that money in a different pile.
And you can put it in a different bucket.
Well, you get it all.
Get it. I'm just saying, you know, realistically, 60,000.
The money comes from.
But without.
FEMA gives it
Yeah.
to the state.
But the other, if we had to spend the 65,000, we never would have got close to it.
Right.
We did all pay for it.
Or on one.
Yeah. So.
We gotta pay someone.
We gotta pay somebody, it might as well be raised, you know, he's getting us the money back.
I would look into the loan interest too, because we did the same thing and it depends. Yeah, getting the loan interest back instead. Yeah. Because different project managers tell you different things.
That's
No, I didn't mean to say 11. 107. Yeah.
114. Because of all these changes in dates.
Oh, yeah, last year.
If anything, if you have, if people can remember back, things that were done, shared doc, should be. So if it's right. Almost this. It's for, all of the percent. Memorial bathroom. So, let's see. Have the yes. There. Yeah. I'll keep working. I know, so it's just right. At some point, not this. Yeah. Well, I start thinking. Yeah, I guess I buy schools. Check even the rental now. You know, gotta be. Yeah. Did that at school, all of our house. Audio. Yeah. 100 years ago now, but like. Especially if we get it to have fun. Thing, nice to know that I can find someone. Five. And just one other question. So that, I will not. Yeah. So I need people write it. So,
that would be my hope.
Yeah.
And I think if you open up the 1 year. To try it out there.
You need to do three.
Well, Mike.
Just like you did last year.
Yeah, I mean, Mike's a really good choice. Age, he's right.
Oh, well,
Yeah. No, I mean, he's engaged, obviously an intelligent man, he definitely concerned about the town.
Okay, I did one other thing on my list. The planning commission.
All right, so I move to a point.
Yeah, Bob as the.
Is there a second on? Second. All in favor, vote aye. Aye. So we also put out. And Don, you've already signed it, thank you. Signing off on those. Yes, I entertain a motion to.
Motion to approve the select board minutes from December 15th, 2025.
Second. Thank you. All in favor? Discussion, vote aye. Aye. Thanks. Yeah.
Well, Kelly, you're 1 year old.
Shoot.
No, I didn't.
Yeah, that's too. Oh, I do a 3, so I didn't 2 years ago.
It's gone past. Mike, John.
I know. So. Make a motion to return.
I'll second it. And I will vote aye. Aye. Thank you everyone for your help tonight.